Hi everybody, happy Monday. It's pretty late here, but I wanted to do a quick video and say hello. Hope you're all doing well and wonderful. And before I get into my video, I just want to give an update on this lithium orotate. So I've just started taking it, but I feel pretty great. The jury's still out. I'm waiting to give it a few more days, but a lot of the reviews online talked about fairly immediate results, and I do feel pretty good, so I'm crossing fingers. I just got my other supplements in the mail, so I'm going to be adding those in, and I'll keep you posted on how things are going. So I think this video I'm going to try to keep it a little short, but I just wanted to tell a story about how I ended up going no contact and the things that led up to that. So back in, was it 2011, I had just moved from my apartment, or I had just put my things in storage, and I was in the process of moving in with a friend who had a big house. And at that time I learned that the birth vessel was going to need a triple bypass. And kind of as a little bit of backstory on that, you know, I had moved very far away from my toxic family, and I knew I needed the distance from them. I didn't have the understanding of, you know, what we were really dealing with at the time. But distance tends to make you think that things are better, or that you've gotten past your stuff, or whatever, because there's no day-to-day interaction, and I was too far away for her to be able to needle my life too much. But I thought it would be a good idea, since no one was going to be there with her post-op, and she really, you know, if you have a triple bypass, you need someone to take care of you. I thought it would be something that I could do that was good for my family. And so I got on a plane, and I put a lot of important things on hold, some really important meetings that had been arranged, and connections related to what I'm accredited to do, and decided to go there and take care of her for a few weeks. Upon arrival, I was very tired. I had been moving. I had no makeup on, and I was just tired. All I wanted to do was get a burger and go to sleep. But she insisted on taking me to her office and introducing me to her coworkers. I thought this would be like 5-10 minutes, and we were there for an hour, and she literally walked me around the office to probably 25 different people, saying essentially the same thing over and over, and that was, "This is my daughter. I used to look just like her. This is my daughter. Can you believe I used to look just like her? This is my daughter. Can you believe I used to look just like her?" Over and over again. It was disturbing to say the least, and I just couldn't believe that she was repeating the same thing over and over while I'm standing right there. But I think that right there kind of sums up how the narcissist sees us as an extension of themselves. It doesn't occur to her that I have my own eyes, my own ears, and a brain to be able to respond to her lies, or her nonsense, or whatever. And never at any point did she say, "This is my daughter. She's sacrificed a lot and has come a long way and bought a plane ticket at the last minute to come here and take care of me. What a wonderful thing to do." Never once did she say that. And even a couple of people interjected that. "How wonderful it is to have your daughter here." And she's like, "Oh, yeah." So that was my first red flag. And I remember thinking, this is going to be a long few weeks. And it didn't take me long to realize that it was going to be much worse than anticipated. And I think I saw the first narcissistic rage fit after about 3 days. It was dishes thrown into the sink, storming out of the room, slamming the door, and this was in the presence of her boyfriend. And I think that it was really just to let me know that I'm back. During the time that I stayed there, there was constant nonsense that makes absolutely no sense to anyone. For example, I was driving her car, and it was during the day. I had gone to the grocery store, and when I pulled into the parking lot, someone backed out of their spot and hit me in the rear passenger panel of the car. And she got out, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't see you. It was clearly her fault." We immediately connected with her insurance company and opened a claim, and essentially had a check in our hand in like 3 days. And I went over all this with my birth vessel on the phone while she was at work, gave her the adjuster's phone number, all that stuff. And that evening, while I was making dinner and her boyfriend came in through the back door, home from work, her boyfriend busts through the door. "Your mom said you hit somebody with her car. What happened?" And I'm stirring the pot, and I'm kind of looking over my shoulder, rolling my eyes, and I turned around and I looked and I said, "You're an engineer. How would I do that? With go-go gadget wheels?" And he immediately realized that that wasn't possible, and I looked at her and I said, "I already told you all this stuff." And she's standing back there with that narky, head bobbing, lip pursed thing. And I just am utterly amazed that that short-lived of gratification is enough for her. I mean, did she really think that he was going to believe that? Did she really think he wasn't going to know about the claim? And just nonsense. I began to realize, living there, the depth of how triangulated I was. Family that was in town would treat me really, really shitty. And at one point I even asked my aunt, who is her twin, there's 2 of them in the world, God help us. She was really nasty to me at lunch while my mother was in ICU. And I leaned over and I said, "What gives you the right to treat me the way that you do?" And she leaned in and said, "'Cause you're a snotty little bitch. And you deserve it." And I got up and I left, and I swore I'd never speak to or see that woman ever again, and I haven't, thank God. But later on, when my mother was better and I told her about this, she literally laughed in my face. She got off on it. She got off on someone hurting me. And of course, who knows the mountain of lies that had been told about me. Another time, I was out driving her, and we had gone to lunch, and we were in the car, and she was, at this point I had started to pull away, and she could tell, and so she started to needle me a little bit more, and she said her boyfriend wants to move back to his other place. He had another house, but he stayed there primarily with my mother. He wants to move back to his house because of your snotty little mouth. What? This person was so respectful and kind. We had a really good relationship, no animosity whatsoever. I mean, he was really under her thumb, and she controlled him. And I knew that that was absolutely ludicrous, and I was like, I'm so sure he said that. And so when we got into the restaurant, she just carried on, and you know, public place is the perfect place to, you know, let your abuser know that you're not going to have it because it's safe. So I got up from the table, and I stood there next to the table, and I, in front of everyone, I mean, it wasn't like I was yelling, but "I'm leaving you here, call me when you're done eating." And I left her. So actually, I got the story backwards. That comment about the snotty little mouth happened when I picked her up in the car, and we ended up having this fight that I can't even remember the details. They don't matter. And 2 hours later, she comes into my bedroom and says, "You told me that my boyfriend wants to move because of my snotty mouth. I couldn't even put my head around. Is she so crazy that she actually thinks that I said that? Or is she setting up what she's going to say? And at that point, she said to me, I can't wait to tell everybody how you live your life. I said, what do you mean how I live my life? What are you talking about? Oh, you know. So God knows what she said about me. And of course, there's nothing to tell about how I live my life. I'm pretty straight and pretty normal, aside from this. So when I began to do the research, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this, I knew that there was BPD, NPD, but when you're really talking about dealing with someone who does not have the capacity to love you, does not feel emotions, and you've come to that realization, it is like you feel like you've been living with a serial killer. It is really sickening. So I knew that when I left there, I was going to go no contact. I knew it. I had already started to learn that that's the only solution, and for many years I had been coming to that conclusion, let's just say. So at one point I had gone out on a date and went dancing, and so I asked my date to hold my ID, and inadvertently left with leaving my ID behind. And he lived about an hour away, and so I asked him just to put it in the mail for me, and he did. But guess what? It never arrived. And I should have, in hindsight, I should have never mentioned that to her, because, and I can't prove this, but I know this is what she did. She has a good relationship with her mail carrier, been the same mail carrier for many, many years, and she could have seen him and grabbed him, and so I know that she stole my ID from me. And because I was just there temporarily and had not packed everything I need to live there, like a birth certificate or a passport or another ID of any kind, I couldn't leave, I couldn't work, and I couldn't get another ID. And I'm sure that was her plan. So the 3 to 4 weeks turned into 4 months of pure hell. Everything from, literally, when the door would close, when other people would leave, it would be like smack, smack, smack. I mean, if I was getting ready for a date and putting makeup on, I'd have to close the door on her hand because she would be trying to slap me. If I was driving, she would try to slap me while I'm driving. It was, and then all the other people around me, treating me poorly, and you name it. So I ended up leaving there under, a big story. I said I was going to stay at my friend's house, and I think that's how it went. In the middle of the day, packed all of my things and left. And I had to work up to this. I had to jump through a lot of hoops with the state of California to get a temporary travel permit, because I had a little court date for, a minor traffic thing that was beyond I hadn't planned on being there that long. And when that happened, they suspended my license. And the only way you can unsuspend your license is to actually go back to the court physically. And since I wasn't in the state, there was no way to do that. So I couldn't even get a renewal or a replacement. It was a real nightmare. So I had to actually hire my friend, who was an attorney. I paid him a small amount of money to go to the court and stand on my behalf. And I had to go through a lot to be able to leave covertly. And when I did that and I returned, I wrote a no contact letter, and I detailed everything, and I sent it to other members of my family. And at some point I'll read the no contact letter and share that with you. But I think, I'm not really sure why I really wanted to tell this story. I just wanted people to understand, how crazy these people are, and how deluded. And they'll go to any lengths. I mean, this woman stole my ID to keep me there so that she could abuse me more. And, you know, like I said, I had to do it covertly, which is my recommendation. If you are going to go no contact and you have the ability to do that, don't tell them what your plans are. Don't give any clue. And if you can, do it when nobody's home. Just get everything ready and just go. I'm not sure really what else I want to say right now without making it too long of a video. And in other news, it's a little small victory for myself that I want to share with you is, in my last video I talked about being traumatized by my previous employer. And so for me now, any type of employment situation just brings so much stress and anxiety. I mean, I'm constantly in my head about, is someone going to say something bad about me? Do these people like me? Am I going to get fired at the drop of a hat? Am I going to be traumatized? And recently I started a new job. And it was a little stressful because it's just a part-time job at a restaurant, but there's the whole tip sharing thing. And when I found out some details about how that was facilitated and had a private meeting, well, here's how it went. I showed up for work and the other staffers were there with the owners, essentially having a meeting about it while I'm there in the building, and it was so awkward. And then after that, they came to me and we had a private meeting to discuss that. And I ended up, you know, kind of educating them on, you know, the laws related to tip sharing, and that's the way that it's being done is not the norm. And if I had known that, I wouldn't have taken the position. But throughout this whole meeting, I was just having that tunnel vision feeling of flight. And all I wanted to do was bail. All I wanted to do was just say, sorry, not interested. Because once things become awkward, it's so hard for it to not be awkward. Or if you're talking about your money, it's really hard to ever feel comfortable about it. So I'm really glad that we were able to come to a compromise, and I was able to, you know, kind of educate them a little bit about this issue. So the victory is that I made it through. I didn't flee, and I wanted to so badly more than anything else, but I don't have that choice. I absolutely have to have this job. And so, you know, I just allowed myself to feel those emotions and to acknowledge that, you know, I was having this flight feeling, and, you know, stand my ground in a positive way, and it worked out great. So now things are really calm and easygoing, and, you know, everybody's good. So that's a little victory. I mean, I'm sure that there are people out there that can relate to these types of feelings and how difficult it can be starting a new job or going into a new social situation. And like I said in my last video, you know, I wasn't always this way, and I haven't been this socially anxious since before this event with my previous employer 6 years ago, five or 6 years ago. So that's really about it. I just wanted to share a few little tidbits with you, and just wish you all the best. I hope that you're doing well. I'll keep you updated on my supplements and how things are going. And I guess that's it. Have a wonderful week.